So what do you do in life with those suddenly moments of a diagnosis? You're about to hear an incredible story of an amazing woman who has come out the other side of breast cancer. But this isn't just for people going through cancer or getting a diagnosis for cancer. This is for anyone having anything that kind of takes them out of their normal life and changes them for good. I hope you enjoy. Well, good morning, Jen. Welcome to my first podcast interview. You're it.
I'm like the virgin.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited and so nervous, but I'm really excited. I'm so thankful for you being here. And, you know, we've got probably an hour together, and I know we are going to run out of time, right? I think when we chatted late last week about like, what are we talking about? Like what's going on? I was like, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine.
Because we can both talk underwater.
Exactly.
We love chatting.
Exactly. And look, I guess, you know, I met you many years ago just through, I guess, Adelaide and networking events. And then I started following you on social media. And it wasn't really until the last couple of years that we kind of met in person properly and had coffee. And so now you're in my lounge room and we're doing coffee and tea together. Today, I'm really excited to have I think a broad, deep dive conversation into you and your life. Mm-hmm. You were hand selected by me very purposefully for so many different reasons. When I was thinking about the 360 Woman conversations that I wanted to have, you know, I think authentic is probably what describes you and your ability to be transparent and honest and really real. And my whole concept around these conversations as we go through the course is honest conversations. And I wanted it to be about women that are watching this that might not necessarily have walked the same path as you and maybe unknowingly are going to. Yeah. I want this to be a roadmap, right? Because I want to learn from women that have gone before me, that are behind me, that are alongside of me. Because I think that often as women, we don't talk real talk. We can talk around the edges and we can show what we want to show. But I think having that real honest, this is how life was for me during this season of my life. And these were some of the, I guess, the ripple effects. Someone is going to be watching this going, oh my gosh, like I'm normal.
Yeah.
You know, and I want people to feel normal because often we don't in life, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm going to hand it over to you. If you can just, I guess, give us a bit of an idea of who you are, your background. I know you got family, and then I'd really like to start the conversation around health and a season that what I would call a suddenly moment in life that was pivoted you into a variety of emotions and experiences. So tell us about you and your world.
Well, I am a wife, a mother, 53 now. Amazing. So grateful to be 53.
Yeah.
About to become a Lala, a grandmother, next year. So that's very exciting. And I guess probably, you know, like, you know, my early life, you know, boring. No, not boring.
Not boring.
Okay. So raised quite a traumatic childhood, carry a lot of trauma from that childhood. But I'm very resilient. I just kind of like am very good at pocketing things away and getting on with things. Yeah. And, you know, met the love of my life when I was 21, and he was the gift that taught me what love is. Something I never had. Never, never had that.
Yeah.
And he's so emotionally regulated and lovely human being.
Yeah.
We have two sons who are now 26 and 29. Yeah, I know.
Wow.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
It's big.
Where did the years go, right?
Yeah. And yeah, life was fairly normal until I was 41, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer out of the blue. And, you know, that's the shitstorm that you expect it to be.
Yeah.
And then it's not only the cancer and the cancer diagnosis, it's how it affects you ongoing.
Yeah.
for the rest of your life.
Correct.
For the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And the lessons I've learned, the challenges I've had, the
impact, the ongoing impact.
Yeah. But also the amazing silver linings I've had from that diagnosis and everything that I went through. So from, you know, after I came out of treatment, I became a blogger.
Which is, I think, when I first connected with you or found you online or something. And I think what really hit me was this woman who was probably in one of the worst seasons of life being so honest and brutal about the experience. And I thought it was really courageous. And I think that was, I'm sure, impacted a lot of women, even to this day. And I guess if I can just go back to the beginning, like, how did you find out you had breast cancer? Was it a out of the moment?
Do you know what? I watched Rosanna Maglieri. Is that her name? The channel she used to do Today Tonight on Channel 7.
Okay,
a South Australian girl, and she was doing a story on breast cancer.
Yeah,
and it just kind of seeped into the back of my psyche. And I had on my right areola a little like raised lump, right?
Okay,
but on my left areola, a couple of times, probably twice, I was in the shower and my nipple looked a bit inverted, which it had never been. And I know some women have inverted nipples, but mine had never been like that. And I just kind of gave it a little rub and it came back to normal. But over a couple of weeks, that Rosanna story on breast cancer kept popping up in my head. And if I am honest and I look back now, I knew something was wrong.
Right.
So I was 41. Anyway, I went to my GP and I showed her and told her, and she actually said to me, "You don't have breast cancer. I see breast cancer every day and you don't have it." And my response, which I just think is gold, is unless you have fucking X-ray vision, you need to give me the referral for a mammogram.
Go you.
And so she did.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And I went for my mammogram, which was, you know, pretty easy peasy. And then they popped me into a little cubicle and said, "We'll be back in 5 minutes." And they came back like 20 minutes later. And I already had the sinking feeling. Yeah. And they said, "Oh, we just need to get a few more slides." So we didn't quite get it. But they focused on the left breast, not the right breast, which is what we were technically there for. And I was like, "Oh, this isn't good." And then they popped me back in the cubicle. Back in 5 minutes, 20 minutes later, they came back. We just want to take a ultrasound. And the technician started straight. She did the right side for like 30 seconds, and then she was on the left side for quite some time. And when I said to her, I could see it on the screen, and I said, "What is that?" And she was just like, "I can't talk to you." Oh. I was like, "Oh, this isn't good." Anyway, she said, "I'm just going to go and get a doctor. I'll be back in a minute." And it took about half an hour. And they came back and they said, "Oh, we've been on the phone to your GP. We'd like to do some needle biopsies now." I was like, okay.
They were not mucking around.
No. And they did about 8. And then this is on a Thursday. And then on the Saturday morning, the doctor who didn't have X-ray vision called me at work to tell me that I had malignancy. And she was like, "Do you know what that means?" I was like, "I think I do."
And how about "I'm sorry"?
No, I never. She still to this day has on her records that I had breast cancer in my right breast. And it was in my left. But anyway, I have a new GP now.
Good. Goodness.
So, yeah, then I went for a core biopsy on the Monday, and on the Tuesday, my another GP from the clinic called me up and said, "You need to get in now." Like, yeah.
So just, I guess, talk me through, you know, you're in those cubicles, you've got this gut feeling, and you've probably already living it in that cubicle, like this is what's coming. You're a mum, you're a wife, you're a woman. Like, can you just explain, like, how did you, I guess, compartmentalize the experience and what was coming, or once you had the news, where did it hit the most for you?
Yeah. So when I was in all that testing on that day, it was numb. It felt surreal. I knew in my gut there was something wrong.
Yeah.
And of course I went home and Googled the shit out of everything, which I do not recommend. But yeah, I think probably the worst was when I went for the core biopsy.
Yeah.
and seeing the look on everybody's faces in the room. And then that first meeting with the surgeon. And I think where I get most upset and emotional is when I think about my children. Like, they were in year 8 and year 12.
Wow.
So we went and saw the surgeon, and then a week later I was having my breast off. So, and in that week you have a lot of tests.
Yeah.
Like, they're doing CT scans, every scan under the sun, every blood test, so it's in and out of the hospital every day. And the day I had my first mastectomy was the day my son started his year 12 exams.
Oh gosh.
So the mother guilt, for many, many years, was massive, and it impacted my relationship with them, their relationship with each other, our whole family unit. It wasn't just me who had cancer, the whole family.
And I think that's a really interesting point, because obviously in my world, I meet people that are going through so many different things, and it becomes a family crisis, right? It's real, and it's so impactful across the generations and even the extended family sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really interesting point, because often people are very focused on the person who has the diagnosis, but then we've got the husbands or the wives or the kids or the aunt that are all like, just robotically, we don't know how to do this, right? Because it's not like then the doctors go, but we've got a great book for you and your family.
There was no help for my family. Like, I get a little bit pissy, I guess, when is it Canteen Cancer Council? I don't want to bash any charity organizations out there, but my children were year 8 and year 12,
significant,
and not once was any help offered to our external family unit, like to the children or anything. So whether that's because they thought I was just getting on with it, or I don't know. My kids only ever came to one treatment, and they probably didn't want to. Okay. It's just that we were going straight from that treatment to a few days away. Yeah. Okay. So but it impacts everyone. It impacts your friendship groups, your extended family. Yeah. Some people will step up, some people won't, some people don't know how to.
I hope you're really enjoying the content that you're listening to and watching today. If you are loving this podcast, I need your help. Please like and subscribe and share this with anyone and everyone that you think will really benefit from this. This will help me grow the podcast for content, for guests, and for lots of other things that I have planned. Keep enjoying.
Yeah. Some people dance around the subject, aren't empathetic, don't reach out, all the rest of it, which I hear time and time again. Time and time again. And if there's one thing that I hear over and over again is that people going, I thought they would be here for me, but they're nowhere. Or they may make like some token phone call. One of the common things is people are like, the people I thought were going to be there for me, sorry, where are they? And it's always the random people that you're like, oh my goodness, I would never have thought. Random. Yeah, I would never have thought you would make that phone call or that lasagna for my family. I think it was like the women like at the footy club that I hardly ever spoke to. Or, I had a girlfriend who turned up one night. She was a school mum, and she had her pajama bottoms on and her suit top on because she'd come from work, but she'd come home and baked us dinner. Oh my goodness. And just turned up on the doors, just turned up. Yep. And if there's anything I can say, it is never say, call me if you need anything. Oh, yes. Amen to that. Because people went crawling down the hallway and I would not have called anybody. Yeah. So I think that the people that step up on reflection are people who have actually gone through something quite big in their life. Yep. They've faced the capacity to understand. Yes. Yeah. So now I'm a big believer in never ever saying, just call me if you need anything. I just turn up. Yeah. Or it's like, let us know if there's anything we can do. No. Don't put that on someone, right? No. Because, I'm probably similar to you. I am not someone to ask for help. No. Like, I'm used to the doing part and the giving. And I think most people are like that. And there's so much you can do. Oh, there's so much you can do. It doesn't have to be baking the lasagna. No. There's so much. Mm-hmm. So, there's always something you can do. But I think the biggest thing you can also do is when you are are with somebody who's going through something big, whether it's cancer or a loss of a partner or child or whatever the big thing is in their life, it's just ask them where they're at.
Yeah.
Where are you at today? How are you feeling?
And acknowledge it, right?
Yes.
Because I think some people that they're like, oh, I feel awkward, so I'm just going to ignore it.
Ignore it. Like,
and it's like, are you kidding me? And my favorite saying that I honestly swear by is, I would rather say the wrong thing in fear of saying nothing. Right?
Absolutely.
I would rather stuff up and fumble and sound stupid than being like pretend, because that's not acceptable to
that
me.
You're with who's going through the big thing. When you are ignoring it, thinking, oh, I won't talk about it, what it's actually saying to them is they don't care.
Yeah. And it's that whole, I often hear people say, oh, but I don't want to make them upset. And I'm like, no, that's actually about you.
Yeah.
You don't know what to do when someone's snot bubble crying. So I'm going to let's try not to have that conversation so I don't have to deal with that. So
and I would just say to everyone, like, because I would cry all the time, like just, well, not bawl, but like if I was talking to someone about my cancer, like if they were asking where I was at or whatever, and, tears leak out the eyes.
Yeah.
And I always just say, you know what, that's just love. That's emotion and that's normal. And even when I'm with other people, I was recently with my husband's boss who's going through cancer, and same thing happened. Like I was asking him where he's at and he's telling me, and, I started to cry, and it's just the knowing and the love and the empathy and the understanding. That's all it is. And emotion, if you've got no emotion, there's something
wrong. And it's like tears often get, the raw end of the deal, right? We think that's the worst thing that can happen.
So not.
And it's so not. I often say that tears are words, right? It's just the words we can't speak.
Yes.
But I think as humans, we're very scared of that kind of raw emotion.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you this because, when people are, get a diagnosis or have something happen in their life. And I think even like with death, we have a funeral a week later and then I think as Aussies, we rally in that eye of the storm really well.
And then,
but then like 9 days later, like it's like silence.
Yeah.
Was that similar to you?
Yeah, definitely. I think with cancer, once you're active treatment that people can see, like chemo and radio. So I had chemo, I had radiotherapy.
And how long did you have the treatment for?
So all up, I had 11 surgeries, 6 months of chemo, 30 odd rounds of radiotherapy.
And was this within
5 years of hormone treatment? And I've still got one more surgery to go. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and we're 12 years down the track. It'll be 12 years on the 20th this month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a never-ending story. And still to this day, it's so funny because there's certain people in my life who know I have an upcoming surgery but won't speak about it with me. Like it doesn't exist.
Like, let's just pretend. Let's act like trees.
Yeah. So I still have certain people in my life who will cheer me on or ask me how I'm going, but it's pretty rare. I think with something like cancer, especially if you're going through chemo and you lose all your hair and everything, it's quite confronting.
And that was
it's very visible. Yeah, definitely. I lost every hair on my body.
Yeah.
So it's very people kind of know that you're going through something.
It's obvious.
Once it all comes back and you're ticking along with life again.
Yeah.
And I certainly was. I was thriving after, going through my treatment. I just wanted to I always say I grabbed life by the ponytail and just get on with it.
That was like a sense of panic and urgency of getting on with life.
Oh, for a couple of years, definitely.
Yeah.
So I guess people don't really know what you go through, but it never leaves you. Even if you come out fairly unscathed.
There's always a scathing though, right?
Yeah. And I have lots of physical, I don't want to call them disabilities, but definitely I had reconstruction surgeries which they move muscles around on your back and transplant skin and tissue and all sorts of stuff. So it impacts everything from my movement to what work I can do to, if it's too hot on a hot day and it flares up, if I eat too much sugar, if I eat, like things like that, like travel.
Yeah.
So it's always impacted me, impacted my eyesight, my teeth, everything.
Yeah, well,
sex drive, all of
things.
That. Yeah, menopause.
Yeah, that would have come on early.
Yeah, so when you go into chemo, you are in forced menopause. So from my very first chemo, that was my last period at 41. And then because of my cancer, they kept me in menopause so every month I had to go up to the chemo clinic and have an infusion and an injection. And I did that for 5 years, as well as having hormone therapy. So that suppressed my hormones and put me in full-blown menopause, which is just a joy.
Yeah.
Because when you are in forced menopause that way, it's very full-on.
Yeah,
very full-on.
I would imagine. And I guess also it's just another pathway of transition and grief as well, because your body probably wasn't ready for menopause at 41.
And you know what? I probably had no real idea of that was, like, I knew, like, the words the doctor said, this is to suppress, but I didn't realise all the shit that was happening to me. I thought it was the cancer or the cancer treatment, but it was menopause on top of it.
Yeah, so it was like a double barrel.
Yeah. So, through menopause and
tough. So I want to go back to your boys, right? Because I think, I'm a mum and I think, when we navigate things with different hats on, it's tough. And I think any woman who's experienced, or man who's experienced a significant crisis in their life, the impact as a parent is massive. Tell me a little bit about, I guess, how you and your hubby managed to navigate that with them, right? Mm-hmm. And also what's some of the significant, I guess, impact for good and maybe for bad of your now grown sons, So
as I said, the oldest was going through year 12 and both of my boys are quite different. They're both quite sensitive. Mm-hmm. The oldest, his choice was to pull away from the family unit, and the youngest was quite clingy. I guess in the eye of the storm, we were just trying to get through. I was having so much treatment. So, and it wasn't just with every surgery, there was something that went wrong. Okay. Wounds that opened up, nurses that had to be at my house every day for weeks on end, and I had
home changed, right? Your home changed.
I remember one day my youngest son, he was 14, had a mate over to play, and they were watching the TV or playing Xbox or something, and the nurse came to the house to do a wound change dressing, and we were in the dining room doing it, and I had no real idea, and I looked over and I was like, do you want to go into the room?
Yeah, right.
It was just so normal for them to sort of see that sort of stuff, which is really crap, honestly. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that on reflection I think I wish I had more awareness of, but I was just doing the best I could do at the time.
But in reflection, what would that awareness, like, what would you have done differently than knowing that potentially you wouldn't have even had the capacity to do it differently in the time, right?
Yeah.
But now sitting back looking.
Probably not having so much visible to my kids, probably trying. I thought I was dying. So
you thought cancer was going to take your life.
Yes.
Okay. Even though you were going through treatment.
Yes.
There was that kind of, hope factor, but actually not really.
Okay. It wasn't until halfway through chemo that I realised, this treatment is to give me an insurance policy. I'm okay. This is the insurance policy. But up until that point, up until halfway through, I actually thought, oh, well, I've only got one more Christmas left and one more Easter left, and this will be my last birthday with that child. And so everything felt like a last to me. And when the eldest was so blasé about everything and not that into it, and he was a little bit angry that I had that mindset. And I get it. He was angry because I had always been strong, and he saw me maybe not being.
He saw a different version.
He saw a different version, and
a real vulnerable.
And it raises, you know, so much for them. And to his credit, like, he's such a good kid. He's, you know, like, probably in his early 20s, he wrote me this amazing Christmas card, 4 pages long, saying how he felt bad that he wasn't there as much, and that he was a little bit, you know,
distant.
Yeah. But how much respect he had, and he loved what I did with my life after that, and he looked up to me. And when people asked him if I was his mum, he was proud to say that I was.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, wow.
Yeah. So in the eye of the storm, probably in that first 5 years, it was really hard. Like,
well, there was so much loss, right?
Yeah.
Not
and
just
anger.
Yeah. And
bubbling. And
you were robbed of your normal life, and your family was robbed of, I guess, you know, some of the, I guess, normal living that you'd been doing. But I guess that what that letter represents is, you know, looking back, you did everything right.
Well, I look at my kids, and it's funny, like, when they were in their early 20s, both of my boys came home from work one day and they'd both quit their jobs on the same day. Oh, and one was being gaslit at work and one was being bullied. And I was so proud of them. Like, most old me, pre-cancer, would have been like, what the fuck? You don't quit your job without another job. You know, like,
security.
But when they came home, there was a part of me that was just like, yes,
so proud.
You get it, because life is so short, and you've just got to, like, don't put up with that. You can't put up with it. You've got to move on, and you'll make it, whatever it needs to happen. And I think they learned that from me going through that experience, or from us going through that experience.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's a real testament to your legacy of how you, I guess, through the storm, still navigated parenting, right? And maybe it wasn't like your original, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, they witnessed you probably in the trenches and fighting for life. And one of the legacies of that was they come out and they're like, we're not doing bad employment environments. We're not mucking around. Life is too precious. And I think for them to know that in their early 20s, what a gift.
What a gift.
What a gift.
Yeah.
Some people get that in their 60s.
Yeah.
You know? So, and that's the light and shade, isn't it, of an experience as a family going through it. That there's always, as you said, silver linings. There's always things that come out.
When you go through big things, you learn big things, and I think you get really big gifts.
Yeah.
So, and it's not what we want for our children is to go through big things. But if we can guide them, empower them, maybe not through it, but after it.
Yeah.
You know, because we're all changed after that event. You know, we're all changed. So,
and I think what, you know, I hear parents often say, or they ask me, and I'm no expert, like, we've got this diagnosis. Do we tell our kids? How do we tell our kids? How much do we tell our kids? And it's really difficult. And I think you would know that every child's different. And it's about, you know, sometimes there's no option. They have to be told because mum or dad is in hospital with tubes right? Yeah. Sometimes it can go under the radar a bit.
Yeah.
But it can be a tough one.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it depends on the age of the children as well. Like, as to how much you tell them. But my kids weren't stupid. They were, you know, young adults.
Yeah,
basically.
Correct.
So they kind of knew. So we sort of did tell them. The only time there was a time when I had my first mastectomy, and they take the sentinel node, lymph node, to tell whether you have cancer in your lymph nodes.
Yeah.
And we were really like sweating on that test result. And the kids knew it.
Yeah.
They picked up. And the night before they said, what does it mean if you've got cancer in your nodes, Mum, in that sentinel node? And it said, well, it means I've got a really big fight on my hands.
Yeah.
And the next day we found out that I actually did have cancer in my nodes. Had to go back for another surgery and have them all removed.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think, should I have told them that? Because after that, I think that's when they really started to panic.
Yeah.
Like you could see
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think, my mum had breast cancer when I was in my late teens. My dad's also been through cancer about 4-5 years ago. So as an adult, I guess it's different, right? But you still feel like a kid, right? When it's a parent, like it's.
Yes.
I think any diagnosis in a family rocks the boat.
Well, it's probably the first big thing that's ever going to rock them. And there's so many emotions and mortality and all of that comes up. Like my kids had never been to a funeral.
Yeah, and I think like you were sharing with your boys, in families, if personalities are so different, our defaults are different, how we handle things are so different, and no one is better or worse or right or wrong in the way that they respond to life. If you've been listening and watching to this podcast and thinking, I really like what is going on here, there's a high chance that you're going to love my app. 360 Woman app was created for you and me, for the woman, the wife, the mother who just wants some personal growth, who wants to understand themselves, who wants to pursue themselves. So don't stop here at the podcast. Jump on over to 360 Woman, download the app, and I promise you won't be disappointed. The link is in the description of the podcast. Easy to find. I'll see you there. But it makes it actually sometimes really complicated for families to navigate.
Yeah. And what sort of support networks do they have?
Yeah.
And yeah, all of that. But I think that when you're handed the shit sandwich in life, it's what you kind of do with it afterwards that matters as well. And I see my boys now navigating their life, and they're just so, like, the oldest one is just living his best life.
Yeah.
Like he really is. He's giving no fucks. He's doing what he wants to do. And we're so proud of that. Like, whereas I remember, mums in the supermarket would ask me what they were doing with their life. And they'd be so proud of their kids, so-and-so's doing uni and he's doing this.
Double degree. And
he's like, And my oldest started uni, he didn't like it, and he's doing his own thing now and he absolutely loves it. He's thriving. And some people don't understand that. They don't understand that living is for living.
Yeah.
They're so busy going through the motions on the treadmill, doing what they think needs to be done, instead of living the life that feels good. They're living a life that they think looks good.
Absolutely. And I think all of us can get lost in that, right?
Yeah.
But when you have fork in the road moments that literally take your breath away, I think that's one of the blessings that come out of it, that you never see life the same.
No.
Never see life the same.
And so even though I've got a bit of mother guilt, or I had a bit of mother guilt around certain things that my children saw or felt, or, how their relationship sort of broke down for a few years and things like that, I see them now as young adults, so equipped, living their best life that I wasn't doing in my 20s.
Yeah.
And so they've got that little head start, that
they
gift.
Yeah. Now, tell us about your amazing husband, because I guess, the impact on him and you as a wife, like that's another part of your identity that probably I would imagine got hammered as well.
Yeah.
Tell us about, I guess, how he walked through, what was some of the impact for him and your relationship?
My husband
sounds amazing.
He is amazing. He is a true Libran. He's so calm.
Libran.
He's just so calm. It really takes a lot to rile him.
Yeah.
And I'm the opposite. I'm the Taurus.
Bit of feist.
So he is
husband.
Yes. So he is so calm. And obviously when he got the news, he actually said to me that he closed the door at work and had a few tears because I rang him at work. And then he just kind of gets on with it. So he's a really good support system. he was working the entire time, but he came to every appointment, which sometimes was 4 times a week.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot of appointments, like hundreds.
And is that what you needed from him?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're a team.
Yeah.
We've been together since I was 21, and I couldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Without him. Some people do. They like to go to all their appointments on their own.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting,
like
isn't
that.
it?
Yeah.
Everyone's got different needs. And I guess, maybe you had the conversation around, I need you to come, or maybe it was just that known entity because of who you were.
Yeah, there was no way he wasn't going to be there. Yeah.
But doesn't that also speak to the whole concept of an intimate relationship with our partners, of in the trenches?
Yeah.
To know the unspoken.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to learn that in the trenches. Right. But often that's where a lot of couples learn, and it's really tough. But that's why intimacy in our marriages and relationships are so important in the very beige, mundane, normal living where life's pretty cool and calm, because it's in these suddenly moments where you want your husband to know, because he knows the footprints that he needs to make for you and with you.
Yeah. Even when we had, children, he was in there doing stuff, things that, for some women, there was stuff that we had to do.
Yeah.
So I knew that, he's just a doer, which is surprising. He didn't grow up with sisters. He's one of 5 boys.
Okay.
So, so it was just, we're a team. So he was definitely on board with all that. It must have been a massive stress for him. His employer was so good. He just allowed him to do what he needed to do.
Yeah, wow.
And there was no questions asked.
It's amazing.
Which was fantastic. And I know not everybody gets that opportunity.
Real blessing, because a lot of people wouldn't.
Yeah. So, but he, I think back now when I'd say, go and get some bread or buy this at the shop or whatever, and he must have stood there and looked at the 50,000 loaves of bread and thought, which bloody bread do I buy?
Yeah.
And I remember he taught himself how to cook. So he makes a mean gnocchi from scratch.
Yeah.
So he did all of those things. But not only that, he also became my carer in a lot of ways. Like, he was doing wound healing. He was doing specific massage, ugly things.
Yeah.
Ugly things.
Yeah. Not the glamour.
Oh, no.
No.
And then there was the whole thing too with our relationship and intimacy of, losing my boobs and the scarring that I had, or still have, even though I have had a reconstruction. My boobs were a pretty big part of my sex life.
Yeah.
Our sex life. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, what do we do now? And
did you struggle with that whole body to
still? Yeah, definitely. It's definitely impacted the intimacy side of our relationship.
Yeah.
And I guess we have a really strong bond that, I often think about people who become paraplegic or something like that. And there's, when I hear people say, oh, if you don't have a good sex life, you've got nothing in a marriage. And I beg to differ.
Absolutely.
Because I think if you don't have a really good connection and friendship.
Because life happens, right?
Yes.
To us and two bodies and two minds and two brains. And so therefore often sex can be one of the things that is impacted. And I think if you've got, sex is important, right?
Yes.
We all can acknowledge that.
Intimacy.
But if that is the biggest part of your relationship and then we have a suddenly moment, right, then we're going to struggle.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have a really good friendship, a really good bond. We just are each other's best friend. We have a lot of shared history. And we look forward a lot as well. Like, we can't wait to be grandparents together. There's things we want to do. So we're very lucky in that. And it's not like we have a sexless marriage. It's just very, very different now.
Yeah. But you've walked that out together, right?
Yeah. So, and with the body image thing, like a lot of people say to me, oh, but you're so lucky you had a boob job. and it just gets my shackles
What
up.
is actually wrong with people?
Yeah.
Really? Sometimes I go, what is wrong with people?
A boob job, it's got a reconstruction. It's like saying,
And it's not like I went, hey, I've got a great idea.
Yeah.
Like, I want better boobs. Like, I mean, come on.
because they're not.
Yeah.
And they're painful every day. And the next surgery that I'm having is I'm actually explanting. So I'll be having the implants removed and the capsule removed because I have breast implant illness.
Oh,
and
geez.
I will be left with the skin and tissue that they transferred from my back just hanging from my chest, which is another thing that I'll have to navigate.
Right. So not another implant in?
No, nothing. And they can't remove the skin. They've said they won't do it because they transferred muscle from my back. So my lat muscles were
Can I just ask, was that horrifically?
horrific. Yeah.
That
horrific.
sounds horrific.
Yeah.
It all does, but that specific back muscle.
And I think too, because some women will write to me and ask me, oh, do you think I should do that surgery? And 5 years ago or 7 years ago, I would have gone, fucking run. Like, no, I'm this much more evolved and forward and healed now that I can say, well, you do what you need to do in the moment.
And you made that decision.
Yeah. And I
at the
wanted,
time.
I felt like I needed my boobs back, but the doctors and the surgeons also weren't very forthcoming with what it would entail. Like they told me it would be 2 or 3 days in hospital, about a 3-hour surgery. It was a 12-hour surgery.
Hang on, sorry. A 3-hour went to 12 hours.
And my husband thought I was dead for about 8 hours to 12 hours because he'd ring the ward and the ward would say, she's still not here, she's still not here.
Were there massive complications?
No, I don't know. But the nurse on the ward said, so the surgery was so massive that when I woke up, I literally couldn't move. I could only move my head. And I had to be in a heated room and I had to have a nurse sit by my bed for 24 hours because it was a transfer of the tissue and the skin and whether it would take or not take. And for some women, it doesn't take. It breaks down. They get necrosis and they have to have it all cut away again. And and I have seen that and it's awful. So it's not just a big job.
No, it is not. And I hope anyone watching this will never say that again.
Yeah.
If they have
And
ever
when
said
you have
it.
your lat muscles removed, so I used to have a really good throwing arm. Like my husband was so proud of my prowess with my throwing arm and everything. And now I throw a ball and it lands in front of me.
Because you've lost all the...
Because I don't have that overarm action. So I'm not a very good swimmer anymore. Repetitive movements really affects me. It makes them blow up. The muscles are wrapped around my rib cage. So when I cough, I feel it. And they're wrapped around my chest and tunneled through. So when I can move the muscles are all here doing the action. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
And then you've also got 2 different coloured skin on your chest because one has been transferred. So it's almost like when you see a burn victim and they have skin on it.
And different.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So it's not that pretty.
No. And I think, obviously you also went on to styling curvy and became this, I guess, social media influencer, which, I know you and I hate that word, but around, styling clothes, and you're very glamorous and you love that stuff. So, but behind the scenes, right, it's so...
So my background was styling. I worked in fashion for over 20 years. I was a personal stylist, all the rest of it. And when I came out of treatment, every day I had a new appreciation for what my body could do because my body had been so ravaged that as it came back to life, I was like, oh, my God, I can now do this. I can bend over and put my underwear on. I can, lift my head up. I can breathe properly. I can all these things. And so I really had an amazing appreciation of life, of what my body could do. Because my body had changed so much, I'd put on over 30 kilos, I had all these scars everywhere and all this sort of stuff. And, my hair was different, everything was different. But I was so grateful to still be here. And it made me realize that the messages that I had been fed in the 80s and 90s about the body beautiful and you have to look like this and you can't be successful if you don't look this way and you can't be, attractive to people if you don't look. It wasn't true. And so I had seen enough women in change rooms
to know,
crying,
yeah,
because they hated their bodies. And I was like, no, there's more to your life, and you can still be successful and attractive and everything regardless of all of that. So that was the message that I really wanted to it was almost like I was in a hurry to tell that message. And it was really well received, like there wasn't really anyone else out there talking about body image, especially in the way that I was. And I was quite out there, like, I was in my mid-40s and in my underwear doing stuff. And I think that body image, I think if we heard more women talk about how their bodies are altered, whether it's through something big like cancer or menopause or childbirth, and I think we are a little bit more with childbirth, we're not snapping back, so to speak, anymore. Like it's not that whole urgency. Then we would cut ourselves a bit more slack.
Yeah, and I think also the message, just listening to you, is that sense of like you look very well put together. You're very stylish and all that kind of stuff, but you still carry on the inside some of the scars, right?
Yeah,
and those two things can coexist.
Yes,
right. That we can feel confident and we can wear outfits and feel good about ourselves, but also struggle with some of the scarring, struggle with some of that, the internal framework and narratives. And it doesn't mean you're a failure.
No.
Right. And I think that the more we are able to collaborate internally and externally, I think the stronger we are.
Yeah. I think that nothing blooms 24/7 in nature and with ourselves. Like you can't always be the super positive, super self-loving person. There's going to be times, because we have history here. Like we have this
memory. Yeah.
We have this soundtrack in our mind from our childhood, our schooling years, our workplace years, whatever. So we'll always be drawn back to it. But I think as long as you don't stay in that place and you find a way to move forward again and recalibrate and, find that balance,
the sweet spot.
Yeah. And that is what happiness is. Happiness is the sweet spot in between too much and too little.
Yeah.
So you can have, if you're too confident or too, are you really happy? Like, there's got to be something that pulls you back.
And I think interesting, and feel free to give me your perspective on this, but I find, especially with social media these days, there's a lot of, conversations even around diagnoses of all versions, which I think is amazing. But sometimes I think that also does not give the behind the scenes. So there's this perspective that, well, they're so strong because they're going through a treatment and yet they're still blogging or they're still out there. And I heard you say earlier, you were crawling on your corridor floor, right? Trying to probably get to the bathroom or whatever it was. And sometimes I think social media does not give that actual real image. Is that fair?
Absolutely. Social media is the new age glossy magazine from the 80s where we thought everything was perfect, but everything was airbrushed and, so social media is just that in real life, really. And I think that we just have to be a little bit more grown up and understand that it is real life.
Yeah,
it's captured in such small, there's 24 hours at a day, hundreds of however many minutes, and you're seeing a 30-second clip.
And what we don't want, and what I don't want people receiving from those messages is that when you're on the couch, like cannot function, right? That means you're not doing as well as someone on being strong.
Yes.
Because that's the messaging, right? It's that whole, she's so strong, look at her, she's doing amazing. But strong can also, right? But strong can also be snot bubble, ugly, crying, not being able to get off the floor.
Yeah.
But we've got this perception and this social construct around, of what strong looks like.
Yeah.
And I think we've got that wrong.
Yeah.
Humbly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think that, if you're only showing up when everything's supposedly perfect, but the parts where you're perhaps where they perceive you're not strong, that's the learning part. That's the really part where you are working through stuff. So that's the good stuff that we forget about. But social media can definitely. I mean, I've always been very open on my social media. I've done things from hospital. And some people might say that's attention seeking, or she is only talking about that for whatever. I can't think about that. I just talk about what my lived experience is. Yeah. So, and I know, like, there's times where I think, I should be sharing this. But I remember once my husband said to me, like, I would talk about mammograms, and then like a week later I would get letters, emails, saying, "Oh, Jenny, you mentioned that mammogram, and I went and had a mammogram, and I've got cancer."
Yeah, well.
And I had that
so it's
at least half a dozen times,
right?
And you're just like, I guess that's why.
That's why. Absolutely.
And whenever I talk about something big or supposedly ugly, something traumatic or whatever, I'll always, even, I put a post up last night and I got half a dozen inbox messages and messages on my page saying, "Oh my God, that was for me." And I always just think, I'm so glad whatever I'm going to talk about will land with the person that it needs to talk about.
I always say, like, I'm not out for the 99, I'm out for the one.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm so okay with that.
Yeah. I don't care about the likes on social media.
No.
So
I care about the trolls, but we'll talk about that later. So one thing I would love to ask you, when we started, I said that I was hopeful that these conversations in the 360 Woman project were going to be, I guess, guidance for women coming behind you. Mm-hmm. And this might be putting you on the spot, but if you could give someone some encouragement, advice even on, let's just say they're recently diagnosed with something, right? Mm-hmm. What would you say to the woman in them? What would you say to the wife in them? And what would you say to the mother in them?
Oof. I know.
Please.
I know. The woman, okay. I would say to the woman that when you are in the trenches, it's all-consuming. But whatever is happening to you is happening for you. I wrote about this last night.
Oh, okay.
It's happening for you.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to see that when you're going through it.
Yeah.
Just go through it. But I promise you that on reflection, 2 years down the track, 5 years down the track, 10 years down the track, whatever you went through is making you ready for something else. It's going to mold you into the person that you need to be in your future self. And none of us get out of life unscathed.
Oh,
we just don't.
No, we think we think we do, especially when we're younger.
Yeah.
But look, in my practice, I'm reminded so often that no one gets away in life. And that's not to scare people.
No.
Right? But
I had a traumatic childhood with sexual abuse and all sorts of stuff in it. And like some people would be like, "Oh, it's just part of my, that was just my tapestry." Yeah, exactly. Part of my tapestry. So it made me into the person that allowed me, that helped me through cancer.
Yeah.
All of those things. So every trauma that you go through, every big thing you go through, you're going to have to do some work to get through it. You have to go through it.
Yep.
So, but you will come out the other side, and hopefully you will have an appreciation for life, for self. And like I'm always working on myself, always, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, whatever. So that I can keep enjoying a good life. So to the wife who's going through a big thing, it'll test your relationship. And I just think that they say that people going through IVF and people going through cancer have the highest divorce rates.
Yeah, well, IVF marriage, right. And I think it was 60 to 70% of marriages don't survive.
Yeah. So you've got to have a really strong basis. And I have heard of women who've been diagnosed and gone home and left their husband because they know this man is not going to be there. He's not going to.
Which also again speaks to the part about we need to do the work on our life and our marriages when life's just humming along.
Yeah.
For these moments.
Yeah.
Because we need to wait for the disaster, but chances are there's going to be something that tests. And I remember when my husband and I were going through IVF for 8 years, I remember the doctors and counsellors and all the people saying, like, you'll be lucky to make it through. And we were very lucky to make it through. We had very, very clear moments of me in a brown paper bag thinking it's going to be over, right? So, but by the grace of God and all the things, we got through it. But the work was done before then.
Yes.
Right? So
with foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not only just on your relationship, but with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
good practices, understanding how you're wired, knowing your defaults in life, like how you operate under stress and what your needs are.
Yeah. Yeah. And self-awareness.
Yeah.
And I'd say to the mother that children are really resilient. They really are. And even if they do see, feel, experience some things that aren't great. We all have.
Yeah.
We all have. And life isn't, a
picture fairy tale.
It's not perfect.
No.
It's not. And those lessons will make your children stronger.
Shape them.
It will shape them. It will give them the ability in life when they come up against things, adversities or challenged or whatever, they're going to be able to deal with that. So, the mother guilt's there. Go and see a good counsellor.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine.
Because it's real, right?
Yeah.
And guilt is that experience of I did something wrong, right?
Yeah. Or
and
didn't do enough.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, you were served on a platter a real, sideways
sandwich.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And as a mum, and I think, the proof is in the pudding, right? And sometimes when you're in it, like you had young men, now you've got adult men about to be dads, right? That
couldn't be prouder.
Yeah. And it's hard to think about the older version of them, right? Because when you're in it, all you can think of is a grade 8 and a grade 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Right? And that's all we can focus on.
Yeah.
But it's that sense of, they're going to grow and be men and maybe dads and husbands and all the things.
Yeah. Also to the mother in me or you, I would say that as you come out of whatever you're going through, hopefully you're going to be doing some work on yourself. I certainly did. Like a lot of self-reflection, a lot of learning. I'm thirsty for everything about well-being, and, like listen to all the podcasts, all of that sort of stuff, which allows me to have a lot of aha moments, a lot of personal growth. And that personal growth, my children are getting a better version of me now than they would have ever had.
Correct.
And I can see that reflected in them. So they had quite a chunk of a particular version of me as a mother. And now they've got this quite chillaxed sort of version who is a bit more open-minded, a bit more willing to try all different things and look a little bit deeper, maybe have a bit more empathy for people. And that is rubbing off on them. So I see this version of my children that they are sort of outgrowing now and becoming much more open-minded, more empowered, more empathetic, just more well-rounded humans.
And it's almost like your cancer experience gave you a different version of parenting style.
Definitely.
Right? And so when you're in it, you can't imagine that that's going to be a good thing because you're only seeing, feeling and experiencing the loss, right, of yourself in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
But obviously down the track, you can go, you know what? There was good that came out of that and I can name them and it's not just one or two. But if it was only one or two, that's still amazing, right?
I always saw that every day, even back when I first started writing, I would always talk about silver linings. It was a silver lining every day.
Yeah.
Whether it was the gravy that I got to eat that day or feeling the wind blow through the bristles that were growing back in my hair or being able to bend over and put on my knickers, whatever it was, having a catch up with a girlfriend, there was always a silver lining. And I think that's just a general, if you can focus on that as you navigate through life in general, like some people like to talk about all the bad things that happen to them during the day or, what's so shit about their day. And I still say to my kids, but what was the good thing?
Yeah.
or what did you learn from that? Or what would you have changed? Or what could, don't focus on the negative or the bad. Yeah, you got to go through it. Yep.
Yeah.
We all have it. We have bad days at work, whatever. But there's always a good thing. So focus on that one and that will take you through. So
so amazing. I have thoroughly enjoyed today. I am excited for you to become a grandma. That is going to be, what a blessing. What a new turning of the page, right?
So it's going to be such a good chapter, because when my children were diagnosed, I didn't think I would get to see them have their first kiss.
Oh.
Or, I didn't think I'd get to see my youngest finish school, or all those things. And so to have this to be watching my boy become a dad and thinking about all the things I want to teach my grandchild and
all the outfits.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
I am already so.
I know, right? So many, but I think, an incredible turning of the page for you.
Yeah.
And obviously if and when you've got your upcoming surgery, I wish you honestly all the best. And I guess it's just another one of those in the corridor moments of walking through it.
Yeah.
And probably a little bit more what's on the other side than you did previously, but I'm sure you're going to be amazing and do what you need to do. But thank you, and thank you for the lives that I know that you're already impacting for that one woman. And I say it's the one, not the 99.
Yeah.
Because I think she's watching today, and this is going to be something that helps her get through some of her crawling on the corridor.
Yeah. Thank you.
So thank you.
Yeah. I think that no matter what we go through, we get through it.
Yep.
And hopefully we're better for it in the end.
Amen. Yeah. Amazing.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. If you made it to the end of this podcast, congratulations. And I'm so thankful. Make sure you put it in your diary. Every 2 weeks, an episode drops with great content, great humans, with great stories and information that hopefully can support you. If this podcast reminded you of someone in your life that absolutely needs to hear it, send them the link. They'll thank you later.